Sure.
Why has it been so slow in getting to the coast? I mean, we were told it was going to be 24 hours from midday yesterday until midday tomorrow in terms of the strength of these winds, and yet it's, as Mum said to me, it seems like a normal wet day in Babinda.
Yeah, it's been pretty good. In fact, if you look at the tracking, it's been pretty spot on. You know, you've probably heard about the computer models we keep hearing about, and if you go back 10 days ago, what computer models do is they get all the data from around the world. There's a whole lot of agencies with all sorts of computer models, like universities and weather bureaus and all sorts of different agencies like that. 10 days ago, all of a sudden they started to agree, and often they don't agree. You know, you can look at these 2-week forecasts and they're not very accurate, but 10 days ago these started to agree, and this was the worry. And what happened with this is, in the middle to upper levels, there's a great big area of high pressure over it, like a big steering wheel. And when that happens, it gets hold of it like a big bus steering wheel, and it controls it. And I've said this to Rod all week, I can't believe how this has just come like a bullet and virtually directly west the whole way. And when you look at other cyclones that have happened, they do the same thing, but they can often wander and move all over the place. You know?
It's hardly deviated, has it? Of course, we are in uncharted territory with this particular cyclone, but therefore we have to draw comparisons with other cyclones that have gone before to put it into some sort of perspective and understand what might be going to happen. What other cyclones have you been comparing it with as we've talked about this over the last few days?
Yeah, well, I think the most notable, of course, is Tracy in 1974. We remember that because of the loss of life, and it destroyed the city. It was a much smaller cyclone than what we're looking at here, and of course it impacted on Christmas night. And it led up to that. So there was a few factors in there. Certainly, you know, communications weren't as good, technology wasn't as good, but it was a very small system, and it was really slow moving. So because it was small and slow, that's what caused the damage. So it sat in the centre of the city and created this damage that we're seeing here. But of course, you can imagine the way those houses were built. A lot of them were just shacks in 1974. And I remember talking to an engineer in the early 90s who'd actually gone in there afterwards, and he was a part of the redesign of these sort of standards. And it was interesting how things have changed drastically since then, you know. Then the other one we look at, of course, is Larry, and that's the most recent one, 2006. And again, that wasn't anywhere near as large as this, but it moved through pretty quickly, but very intense. A lot of variation in the winds, but it did move very quickly. It was a Category 4 system, and we know what the result of that was.
Yes, indeed. And of course, in recent memory too, I guess you'd have to say, is Cyclone or Hurricane Katrina in America, as we've talked about earlier in the program. How does that size compare to Yasi tonight?
Well, we heard that earlier on, and I think you know, the whole world uses that as the yardstick of the monster storm. That was roughly 640 kilometres across. This one has been 500 kilometres for a long time, so it's in the same class, and very similar in a lot of ways. Obviously a different part of the world, but very much the same, and let's just hope that the result is nothing like it, obviously.
No, yes, fingers crossed indeed. All right, thanks for that, John, much appreciated. Well, stay with us here on 7. We'll continue our coverage of Cyclone Yasi after a short break.
Tonight, in a special edition of 7 Local News, Great Keppel Island evacuates as the Capricorn Coast braces for high winds and strong swell caused by Tropical Cyclone Yasi. Central Queensland can expect rain north of Yeppoon this afternoon with dangerous surf conditions. The Category 5 monster will cross between Cairns and Cardwell from 10 o'clock tonight.
Continuing now with our special cyclone coverage, and with thousands of people fleeing their homes along the Queensland coast, trains, planes and the highways have been full. Earlier this afternoon, a large number of people arrived by train in Brisbane after a 22-hour rail trip. Reporter Kelly Schlecht was at Roma Street Station.
Well, with plane tickets hard to find last night, North Queensland residents lined up to buy tickets for a specially chartered train to travel all the way to safety in Brisbane.
All right, thanks, Kelly. Cyclone Yasi is also expected to bring down transmission towers, potentially wiping out telecommunications in whole regions. And joining us now by phone is John Parkin, who is in charge of Telstra's preparation and recovery efforts. Well, John, thanks for your time. How is the network holding up at the moment? I imagine there'd be a lot of people making a lot of calls.
Yeah, there certainly are, but the network's holding up very well at the moment, and we're monitoring it very closely. We have a very technical global operations centre that's based in Melbourne that monitors the network with us here in Queensland, and the core network is holding up well.
And stay with us here on 7. Our special cyclone coverage continues after this short break. In 7 News, the latest from our crews in North Queensland as Cyclone Yasi closes in. Residents evacuated as a storm surge threatens thousands of homes. John Schluter will have the latest forecast on when and where it's expected to hit in a special 1-hour edition of 7 News at 6.
You're watching 7's special coverage as Cyclone Yasi approaches the coast. Well, as with the floods, the disaster is unfolding online in a big way. Heidi Davron looks after the 7 News website, and Heidi joins us now. Well, Heidi, the internet, it's an important tool for getting out information. How important is it in this cyclone?
It's vital in these kinds of situations. Online news websites as well as social media can provide a wealth of information, and there certainly is a lot of information out there to sift through on sites like Twitter and Facebook. Also our 7 News Queensland website. We have a full coverage site there that provides access to more other sites as well, and webcams. We have webcams located up and down the coast. That's if they hold up through the worst of it. But yes, online media is certainly a very useful tool to keep track of exactly what is going on out there.
Well, thanks for that, Heidi. Much appreciated.
Thank you.
And our special cyclone coverage continues right after the break. Saturday, 6:30, a special 7 News presentation.
The flood of 2011, how South East Queensland survived its darkest hour, the heroes and community response.
And I'll show you how 3 extreme weather events combined to create a super flood.
A television event not to be missed.
Saturday, 6:30, following 7 News. Back now with our special cyclone coverage, and now joining one of Queensland's top cyclone experts. For years, Jeff Callaghan tracked severe weather for the Bureau of Meteorology. He joins us now. Evening, Jeff. What sort of a night do you think we're in for?
Yeah, very intense night. We've got this, as everyone said, a major system and quite large in size, moving towards the North Queensland coast. So it's, a diabolical situation.
OK, now we've got the screen set up behind you and we're seeing Yasi and its eye as we speak. Can you take us through what we're seeing and what we've been seeing as we've tracked this cyclone so far?
Yeah, this image here is a microwave image. We don't get many of these during the day, about 1 or 2 or 3 a day. And the red areas are the intense rain, and grading to the green areas, which are heavy rain. You'll notice there's around the red area, there's a circular feature. That's the eye of the cyclone. So the very, very intense winds and storm surge occur just inside that red area. And out here, these other bands, they also contain the very, very strong winds. Right. So, but the most intense winds are in that area there. The storm surge occurs there. And this is an area like nowhere else on the planet. We've got an infrared photograph, and this is how we tell the intensity of these systems. Right. And it's pretty simple. The red and gold areas are very cold temperatures, about up to -80. Right. And in the centre there, +9 or to -30. And the difference between those 2 temperatures gives you the intensity. It's that simple. OK. And it works real well. OK, thanks so much for your time this evening, Jeff, for telling us how that cyclone's unfolding. Well, we invite you to stay with us. We'll be back in just a few moments with a special 1-hour edition of 7 News when we'll get the latest from North Queensland. From the team for now, good evening.